Our resident lawyer, Despina Prialo of boutique law firm Prialo Legal in Runaway Bay, with us each and every Thursday to offer her legal expertise. She provides some general advice on the latest hot topics and, of course, with 25 years experience, in fact, more than 25 years experience in the area of property and commercial law. She brings all of that and more to us every Thursday morning. Hello, Despina.
Good morning, Wayne. Good morning, Brooke.
You're here!
You're back.
Oh my gosh, it's so nice to see you in person.
It is so nice to be back in the studio.
It's fabulous.
Yes.
So today we're talking about a couple of hot topics as usual, and this one in particular is for home buyers. So if you've bought a home off the plan, it probably sounds great, but with that comes a lot of risks and a lot of promises over a long span of time. So why in particular can this go pear-shaped, Despina?
Yes, it can go pear-shaped for a lot of reasons. And what I want to focus on this morning is the little things which can end up being very big things that people don't actually look at properly. And we've been talking all year about the property boom on the Gold Coast in particular, and now particularly with the floodgates opening up on the 17th of December, that is the plan that we have apparently in place, we will see a lot of people migrating up. Finally, coming from Victoria, from New South Wales into Queensland, particularly on the Gold Coast, and looking to buy property now that they can come up physically. So this is going to really then create, I think, this frenzy, and I think it's already happening, and it's been and it's been published in the media, isn't it, about this race to downsize into lap of luxury. That was one headline that I read in the Gold Coast Bulletin recently. So why is it a race? And I think this is the problem, that people don't stop to dot the I's and cross the T's when they sign this off-the-plan contract. And what I have concerns with, and I have had these for a while this year, is this race that people want to get in. They don't look at the contract properly, and it's more to do with what are they actually signing up for. So a lot of people, they will either physically go into the display centre, if there is one, or they'll see it online. So they'll have online, okay, these are the nice pictures and videos that we've put together, and to illustrate what the project will look like, what your apartments may look like, and what we're promising, if you could call it that we're going to sell to you in the end. So people rely on that. They rely on that marketing, yes. And they go, look, this looks nice, look at the views, look at the finishes, what am I getting inside the actual apartment, what will it look like, the colours, the type of appliances perhaps, the type of tiles or carpets, etc. But what I say to buyers is that may look all very good and well for you, and you're relying on that to sign up under a contract. But those finishes, and this is what I want to focus on, it's the schedule of finishes, those particular things that you might have seen either online or in person in a display centre are not generally contained in the actual contract. You always have a schedule of finishes, but the schedule of finishes are very generic, and they're becoming more and more generic in all these off-the-plan contracts that I've been viewing all year for the projects on the Gold Coast. And there was once a time, just to explain, there was once a time when your appliances, for example, would be branded with a particular brand, whether it's Miele, Smeg, or a Blanco, or another particular brand. So now you don't get any brands, you might just get European appliances. Okay? Yeah. So what does that mean? That could be a variety of different types of appliances. So when you go into your display centre, they might have a particular brand. And you might go, great, that's what I like.
Samsung, yes.
Exactly, but that doesn't mean that you're getting it, because it's not what you see in the display centre, it's what is in your contract and your disclosure statement that is critical, and that's the point I want to get across.
So it seems from what you're saying that they're a little light on detail. So you can see some fairly generic type things. Okay, well, your floor will be, it'll have carpet, but exactly what sort of carpet you won't know until perhaps the day you're just about to move in. Would that be the case sometimes?
Yes. So people say to me, well, how can they show that in the display centre? Well, they can. And look, I'd say 9 times out of 10, or if not in all cases, they're not doing it purposely to lie to you, to mislead you. What they're doing is that they're saying, well, this is what the developer intends to provide. The point that I'm trying to make is that the contracts do not have these pictures. They don't have that detailed description. So if the developer has to change a particular type of finish, whether it's the tile, whether it's the type of carpet, woolen, synthetic, what type of tile are you getting, what type of kitchen bench are you getting. So the grain, the type of stone, how thick is it? So sometimes there was a time when you used to have your kitchen bench be described as whether it's 20 mil or 40 mil. Now that's not being done at the moment. So you just don't know what you're getting. And it's going to be difficult down the track for buyers then when they come to settlement and they go and visit the finished apartment to go, well, hang on, this is not what I saw 2 years ago.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is the developers don't mean to mislead from the beginning, but they're going to get caught up with a shortage of supply, which is what's happening at the moment. We've seen that. They're going to get caught up with that. And there's another aspect to it, and that is construction costs, which a lot of people don't like to talk about. And we have talked about it on the show before. But there's a lot of talk, and it is true, that the build costs are going up exponentially. They're increasing all the time. And what we're seeing is that the developers say at the beginning of the year that were selling in March, April, perhaps weren't aware or didn't know their build costs were going up. So then they've sold off the plan at a particular price to those buyers to cater for what they thought their build costs were. From March to now, the build costs have increased. Yeah. So they can't recoup that because they've locked in buyers under contracts. So the point is, will the developers, and I'm not saying that they will, but it's a question to be raised, and that is, will they then start to cut corners? Will they then skimp out on the finishes that they're going to provide at the end? And then you go, okay, well, what's in my contract? Well, what's in your contract is a very generic schedule of finishes.
So vague, incredibly vague. And you do have an example there, and we quickly went through off air, but there was a few points like you mentioned, the carpet or even the wood. Something like mahogany flooring would cost a lot more than, lino that looks like wood. Imagine walking to a house and having that kind of change purely because they said, it'll look like wood, but you have no idea.
Exactly, that's a really good example. And the hardwood floors, people like them. Okay, so what type of hardwood floor? Is it a full, what thick is it? Like what thickness? Or is it solid or is it not? Doesn't specify, doesn't say what type of hardwood floor. So you may get into trouble there. And what can you do about it? The buyers say to me, well, what can you do about it? And the problem is, well, what you've signed up for and what the developer agreed to, it's all in your contract and it's all in your disclosure statement. Let's have a look. Like I said to you 2 years ago, well, it's pretty generic. So if you want to sign up, okay, well, that's what they've given you.
So you need to be very specific about each one of these. Well, for example, you have this, what they call, what is that called? That's just a piece of paper that lists out all of the bits of your new house and what they're made of. But you need to be very specific about, for example, the wall tiles or the oven or the cooktop or the joinery or the floors, etc.
It's almost everything. It's what your house will literally look like is listed in this list, but it's all very vague. So for the people, I guess, this year that have obviously purchased homes, like so many have, what if they panic hearing this and go, oh my goodness me, I wanted that Samsung dishwasher and my beautiful wool carpet. What now?
Yeah, so it's going to be difficult for people already under contract. Yeah. People who have not yet gone under contract, what I suggest is that you try and make it very specific in the contract. So include perhaps a special condition that you are represented certain things at the time of entering into the contract that you expect, that you're relying on, such as this type of tile and this type of carpet and this type of kitchen bench top and vanity top in the bathrooms. Those are the things that you should specify. Also, if they have pictures, I would also suggest that you attach those pictures to the contract. I've seen that in some contracts and disclosure statements where there are pictures taken of the type of tile and the type of flooring, and that's actually attached. So therefore, you've got an actual illustration of what they're going to give to you, and that's far better than a word description of the type of tile or carpet or flooring.
For sure, 100%. And then those that are already in their contract and they see this very vague list and panic, it would be very difficult to try and negotiate. Is that right?
It would be, and I would stay on top of the project. I've always said that. Stay on top of the project. Always go and find out on a monthly or bi-monthly basis what's happening, where are you at, what are your suppliers looking like, and put that, I suppose, indirect pressure on to the sales team,
Yeah.
yes, about how they're completing the project. Very much so. Don't walk away and come back 2 years later.
That's what I'm picturing, and that would just be the absolute worst. So
Exactly. And if you know other people that have bought into the project, get together. Talk about it and perhaps approach them as a group. The other thing I wanted to mention, which I've only seen recently, actually only this yesterday, was when I read a new contract. It was a new off the plan for townhouses on the Gold Coast. I won't say where, of course, but what I saw was a new clause that's been inserted, which I have not seen before, and it's an ability for the developer to terminate the off-the-plan contracts at any time during the construction and all the way up to when the plan registers if the construction costs increase and exceed past what they've estimated in their feasibilities. So that's actually something new, and I dare say that's come about because of the increase in construction costs we've seen this year, and the developers are getting caught out. So this particular developer has included this new clause in the usual clause we see, which typically says, look, if the developer can't sell enough lots off the plan, say in the first 12 months or 18 months, they do have the right to can the project. That's fair enough, isn't it? Because they need to sell enough lots to get construction funding, and they've always had that out. But this is something new. This is saying at any time during that construction phase, right up until the plan registers, if my construction costs actually exceed my feasibilities, I can actually terminate the contract.
So you, after waiting for 2 years or whatever it might be, you could get to the end of that period of time, 3 years, maybe longer, and find that this place that you've been waiting for just disappears from under you.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Because
so,
the costs have skyrocketed.
Yes, and then that therefore it gives the developer not only the ability to terminate your contract and you'll get your deposit back, but also to resell at a higher price. And maybe that's a way of doing it, you see, when they see the property market move so quickly. So what I would suggest to buyers is have your lawyer who understands off the plan, first of all, make sure they read the entire contract, make sure they find if there is a clause such as this, and then perhaps either try and get it removed or to vary it to say, well, yes, okay, if you want this clause, but you've got to act reasonably at all times and act in good faith. And just those words, those simple words can make a big difference with the conduct of the developer if you end up in court in a dispute with the developer.
Seems a shame you've got to ask for good faith.
Hasn't it?
I know. It should be as a matter of course. I agree.
Oh, goodness. Well, great advice there from Despina Priala. And coming up next, we'll be discussing deceased estates. What can people do to avoid being sued? And what should your will include? Coming up next on Radio 96.